I'm staring at my laptop screen in Bridgewater Café when she walks in, and I know immediately that something's wrong. Diana Walsh, my CEO, the woman who runs DataCore Solutions like a well-oiled machine, looks like she's carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. It's Wednesday night, almost 8 o'clock, and she's wearing jeans instead of her usual power suits. That alone tells me something's off. I've been coming to this cafe twice a week for the past year. My apartment feels too empty since the divorce, and being alone around other people somehow feels less lonely than being alone by myself. Does that make sense? Probably not, but here I am anyway, working on encryption protocols while college kids laugh at the table next to me and a couple shares dessert by the window. Diana takes a table in the back corner, far from everyone else. She orders chamomile tea from the waiter and wraps both hands around the cup when it arrives. She's staring at nothing, just looking into space like her mind is somewhere far away. I've worked at DataCore for 4 years now, started as a junior security analyst and worked my way up to cybersecurity specialist. I've seen Diana negotiate contracts worth millions without even blinking. I've watched her handle angry clients with grace and tough board meetings with confidence. But right now, she looks tired in a way that has nothing to do with work. I try to focus on my screen. I'm updating our firewall protocols, checking for vulnerabilities in our system. It's detailed work that usually keeps my mind busy, but I keep glancing up at Diana's table. Something about the way she's sitting there alone makes my chest feel tight. A man slides into the seat across from her. Expensive suit, probably costs more than I make in a month. Watch that catches the light, definitely worth more than my car. He's got this smile that doesn't reach his eyes, the kind of smile that makes you uncomfortable without knowing why. At first, I can't hear what they're saying. The cafe has this background music playing, some jazz that mixes with the sound of the espresso machine and people talking. I return to my work, typing away, trying not to think about how my ex-wife used to say I was too predictable. "You're like watching paint dry," she told me once. Nice, but boring. She left me 2 years ago for a guy who rode a motorcycle and talked about starting a tech company that never actually happened. Last I heard, she'd moved on to someone else, always chasing whatever felt exciting in the moment. Then the man's voice rises, cuts through all the other noise like a knife. "Let's be honest about your situation." I look up. Diana's shoulders have gone stiff. Her fingers tighten around her teacup. "You're 48, the man continues. He leans back in his chair like he's explaining something obvious to a child. "That's too old for any man who's actually worth your time." My hands freeze on my keyboard. The cafe noise seems to fade into the background. Can't look away. "Successful men your age," he says, waving his hand like he's making a simple point. "They want women in their 30s. Women who still look good in a bikini. Women who can give them kids if they want a second family. You can't compete with that." Diana hasn't moved. She's staring at her tea like if she looks at him, something inside her might break. I know that look. I've seen it in my own mirror too many times. "And younger men?" The man laughs, but there's no kindness in it. "Come on. What 30-year-old wants a woman who's already pushing 50? They're looking for someone to build a life with, start a family. You're past all that." I want to look away. This feels private, painful, like watching someone get hit and not being able to stop it. But I can't stop staring at Diana's face. She's wearing the same calm expression she uses in board meetings, but her knuckles have turned white around that cup. "You're stuck in this sad middle ground," the man says, standing up. He drops cash on the table like he's paying for the right to ruin someone's evening. "Not young enough for the men who matter. Not old enough to stop caring about it. My advice? Get a cat. Learn to be okay with being alone." He walks out without looking back. Just like that, he destroys someone and walks away like it's nothing. Diana sits there frozen. The cafe continues around her like nothing happened. The espresso machine hisses. Someone laughs at a nearby table. A phone rings somewhere in the distance. She lifts her teacup to her lips with hands that shake, takes a sip, sets it down with careful control. Everything about the way she's sitting screams that she's holding herself together by sheer willpower. But I can see the cracks forming underneath. I recognize that expression because I've worn it myself. It's the look of someone who's heard the same cruel message so many times they're starting to believe it might actually be true. My ex-wife used to tell me I was too safe, too reliable, too boring. "You never take risks," she said the day she left. "You never make me feel alive." She wanted excitement and adventure, someone with bigger dreams than fixing computer security and coming home for dinner every night. Someone who made her heart race. 2 years later, I still sometimes wonder if she was right. If being steady and dependable just means being forgettable. If playing it safe means you're not worth remembering. Watching Diana absorb that man's cruelty with silent dignity feels like watching myself get smaller every single day. Believing the story that we're not enough because we're not what someone else wanted us to be. I close my laptop. My hands are shaking slightly as I stand up. This is stupid. She's my boss. She probably wants to be left alone with her thoughts. Every reasonable part of my brain is screaming at me to sit back down, finish my coffee, pretend I didn't see anything. Mind my own business like everyone else in this cafe who heard that conversation and decided it wasn't their problem. But I'm so tired of pretending not to see. Tired of letting cruelty go unchallenged because it's safer to stay quiet. Tired of watching people get told they're worthless and doing absolutely nothing about it. I walk to her table. My heart is pounding so hard I can hear it in my ears. She doesn't notice me at first, still staring at that teacup like it holds all the answers in the world. "Ms. Walsh." My voice comes out softer than I intended. "Are you okay?" She looks up, and for just a split second, I see raw pain in her eyes before her professional mask slides back into place. Recognition follows. The cybersecurity guy from the 5th floor. The one who fixed her computer when it got infected with malware last month. "Marcus," she says, managing a smile that doesn't quite work. "I'm fine. Thank you for asking. No offense, but you don't look fine." The words hang in the air between us. I probably just crossed about 20 professional boundaries. She could report me to HR for being inappropriate. She could tell me to mind my own business and walk away feeling completely justified in doing so. Instead, she looks at me for a long moment, really looks at me, and something in her expression shifts. "I suppose I'm not," she says quietly. Her voice is barely above a whisper. I slide into the booth across from her without asking permission. It's a bold move for someone who usually plays everything safe, but tonight feels different somehow. Rules feel less important than basic human decency. "I heard what that guy said to you." I meet her eyes directly. He was wrong. Diana lets out a breath that sounds like it's been trapped in her chest for hours. "You don't have to do this, Marcus." "I'm fine." "Really? I'm used to it." That's the saddest thing I've heard all week. The words come out sharper than I mean them to. "You shouldn't have to be used to people treating you like garbage." She blinks, looking surprised by my bluntness. Good. I'm surprising myself too. Diana stares at me for a moment, like she's trying to figure out if I'm serious or just being polite. "He was just being honest," she finally says, but her voice wavers. Maybe that's better than people lying about it. He wasn't being honest. He was being cruel. There's a difference. I lean forward, resting my arms on the table. What he said had nothing to do with you and everything to do with him needing to feel bigger by making someone else feel small. Or maybe he's right. Diana's voice drops so low I have to strain to hear her over the cafe noise. Maybe when you hear the same thing enough times from enough different people, it stops being a lie and starts being the truth. "No." I shake my head firmly. When you hear the same lie enough times, it's still just a repeated lie. That's all. It doesn't magically become true just because people keep saying it. She studies me with those sharp eyes, the ones that can read financial reports and people with equal skill. "Why do you care, Marcus? You barely know me." "Because I'm human," I say simply. "Because I just watched someone hurt you and I couldn't pretend I didn't see it." I pause, choosing my next words carefully. "And because I know what it feels like to be told you're not enough." Something shifts in her expression. The professional distance crumbles just a little bit. "You come here often?" she asks, changing the subject. "Couple times a week." I glance around the cafe. My apartment gets too quiet. It's easier to be alone around other people than alone by myself. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. She wraps her hands around her teacup again, but gentler this time. I live in a penthouse with 3 bedrooms, and I rattle around in it like a marble in an empty box. We both smile at the image. Small and sad, but genuine. What's your name? She asks. Your real name, I mean, not the one on the company directory that says Marcus Chen, cybersecurity specialist. It is Marcus. Marcus Chen. That's really my name. I know. But what do people who know you actually call you? Do you go by Mark? Mark. Just Marcus. I'm not really a nickname kind of person. She nods slowly.
I'm Diana.
But you probably already knew that. Hard to miss when your face is on the lobby wall. She laughs. A real one this time, not the polite laugh she uses in meetings. God. I hate that photo. They made me smile for 3 hours straight. My face hurt for days afterward. You should have told them to use a picture of you actually working. You know, looking terrifying and brilliant instead of approachable. I am approachable. She sounds offended, but she's still smiling. You fired 2 people last month. They deserved it. They were stealing client data and selling it to competitors. See? Terrifying. We fall into conversation more easily after that. The strangeness of the situation starts to fade. She tells me about running data core solutions for 14 years. Building it from a small cybersecurity startup with 8 employees to a company with 400 people across 6 offices. How work gives her purpose and identity and meaning. But outside the office, she feels lost and unmoored. How she goes to business dinners and charity galas and smiles until her face aches. Then drives home to an empty penthouse where nobody's waiting. How she wakes up at 5 in the morning and goes straight to the office because at least there, she knows who she is and what she's supposed to do. I tell her about my marriage ending 2 years ago. How my wife left for a guy with a motorcycle and big dreams about starting a company that never actually launched. How she told me I was too steady, too reliable, too safe. You're like oatmeal, she said. Healthy and good for you, but nobody gets excited about oatmeal. She meant it as an insult, and it worked. I believed her. That's horrible, Diana says, and I can hear real anger in her voice. Being kind and stable isn't a character flaw, Marcus. Tell that to everyone who passed me over for someone more exciting. I could say the same thing. She stares into her tea. My marriage ended 7 years ago. We couldn't have children. Medical issues on my side. My husband decided he wanted to explore other options. That's actually what he said. Explore other options. Like I was a restaurant that didn't live up to the reviews. That's awful. He remarried within a year. Has 2 kids now. Sends holiday cards every year with their perfect family photos. His wife is 33, gorgeous, and clearly very fertile. The bitterness in her voice cuts deep. I want to say something comforting, something wise that will make it hurt less. But sometimes there's no wisdom that helps. Sometimes things just hurt and all you can do is sit with someone while they hurt. My ex remarried too, I offer. Guy with a boat. They vacation in places I can't pronounce and post about it constantly online. Do they send holiday cards? Instagram posts. Basically the same thing. We sit with that shared pain for a moment. The cafe has mostly emptied out around us. A barista is wiping down tables near the front, shooting us looks that suggest they want to close soon. I should go, Diana says, but she doesn't move. Yeah, me too. I don't move either. Marcus. She looks at me with sudden intensity. Thank you for coming over here, for caring enough to say something. I can't remember the last time someone just cared. You deserve people who care about you. So do you. She reaches across the table and squeezes my hand briefly. Her fingers are warm from holding her teacup. The touch is simple, nothing romantic about it. Just one human being acknowledging another. But it sends electricity up my arm anyway. We walk to the parking lot together. The evening air feels cool and clean after the cafe's warmth. She stops by a silver hybrid, unlocking it with hands that still shake slightly. This was unexpected, she says. Good unexpected or weird unexpected? Good. Definitely good. She pauses with her hand on the car door. Marcus, would you maybe want to get coffee sometime? Real coffee, planned in advance, not just running into each other. My heart does something complicated in my chest. I'd like that. Good. She smiles, and this time it reaches her eyes. I'll email you. We'll figure out a time. Sounds perfect. She gets in her car, and I watch her drive away. Then I stand there in the parking lot for a long moment, wondering what just happened and if it was actually real or if I imagined the whole thing. The next few days at work feel strange. Every time I see Diana in the hallway or catch a glimpse of her through her office window, I remember our conversation at the cafe. I remember the pain in her eyes and the way she laughed at my terrible jokes and how her hand felt when she squeezed mine. She catches my eye once in the elevator and smiles. A small, private smile that makes my pulse quicken and my face feel warm. But we don't talk beyond professional exchanges about security updates and system protocols. On Friday afternoon, an email appears in my inbox. The subject line just says, coffee. The message reads, tomorrow, 10 in the morning, Bridgewater Café. If you're free, I'm free. Let me know. Diana. I read it 3 times to make sure I'm not misunderstanding. Then I type back, I'm free. See you there. Saturday morning arrives and I'm awake at 6, even though I don't need to leave until 9:30. I change my shirt twice, trying to look casual but not sloppy, put together but not like I'm trying too hard. I arrive at the cafe 15 minutes early and order coffee for both of us, remembering how she takes it from the office kitchen. Black with 1 sugar. When she walks in wearing jeans and a light blue jacket, looking more relaxed than I've ever seen her at work, something in my chest loosens. She spots me and walks over with a genuine smile. You remembered my order, she says, sitting down across from me. You're a creature of habit. Chamomile tea at night, black coffee with 1 sugar in the morning. Observant. That's a good quality in cybersecurity. And in general, I hope. We talk for 2 hours. She tells me about growing up as the youngest of 4 siblings, always feeling like she had to prove herself to get noticed. Her parents were both doctors who expected excellence from their children. She became an overachiever by necessity, getting perfect grades and leadership positions and acceptance to top universities. But she never felt like it was enough to stand out in her family. 3 weeks after that coffee date, I'm in the security operations center at 3 in the morning when every alarm in the building starts screaming at once. My phone buzzes with emergency alerts, the monitors flash red, and I know immediately we're under attack. A serious one. Someone's trying to breach our client database. 40,000 companies trust us with their most sensitive information, and right now, a hacker somewhere in the world is trying to steal all of it. My hands move across the keyboard without thinking, years of training kicking in automatically. I shut down external access points, isolate the infected servers, trace the attack vector back to its source. My phone rings. Diana's name flashes on the screen. How bad is it? She asks without saying hello. I can hear the tension in her voice. Bad. They got through the first firewall. I'm working on containment now. What do you need? Time. Maybe 18 hours. And coffee. Lots of coffee. I'm on my way. She arrives 20 minutes later, even though she lives across town. She's wearing sweatpants and a company t-shirt, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. She brings coffee in a thermos and breakfast sandwiches that I don't have time to eat. By 6 in the morning, the office starts filling up with panicked executives. Diana handles them while I work, keeping them away from the operations center, managing their fears and questions. Through the glass wall, I can see her on the phone, pacing back and forth, her free hand gesturing as she talks. She's explaining the situation to board members, to major clients, to investors who are threatening to pull their money. Around noon, she appears in the doorway with more coffee and actual lunch. You need to eat something, Marcus. I can't stop now. They're probing for other weak points. 5 minutes. Eat while you work. She sets the food on the desk beside me. Talk to me. What's happening? I explain it while I type, my fingers never leaving the keyboard. The attack is sophisticated, coordinated, probably state-sponsored based on the techniques. They're not just trying to steal data. They're trying to destroy our reputation, make clients lose trust in our security. Can you stop them? She asks quietly. I'm trying. She stands there watching me work, not saying anything, just being present. Normally I hate when people hover, but something about her being there makes me feel less alone in this fight. By 6 that evening, I've been awake for almost 24 hours straight. My eyes burn, my back aches from sitting, and I'm surviving on coffee and adrenaline. Diana hasn't left except to handle the endless stream of phone calls and meetings. She keeps bringing me food I barely touch and water I forget to drink. Around 7, she comes back into the operations center and closes the door behind her. Marcus, the board wants to know why this is taking so long. They're asking questions about our security protocols, about whether we're qualified to handle this. Tell them I'm doing my job the best way I know how. I did. They want someone from outside to consult. They're talking about bringing in a different security firm. I stop typing and look at her. That would be a disaster. Anyone new would have to learn our entire system from scratch. We'd lose hours, maybe days. The attackers would definitely get through. I know. I told them that. But Marcus, they're scared. And when people are scared, they don't always make smart decisions. What do you want me to do? Keep working. I'll handle the board. She pauses at the door. And Marcus? I trust you. Completely. Those words carry me through the next few hours. At 10 that night, I finally isolate the last infected server and close the security breach. The hackers are locked out, the client data is safe, and our systems are intact. I lean back in my chair, exhausted beyond words, and realize my hands are shaking. Diana appears like she has a sixth sense for when things happen. Is it done? It's done. We're secure. She crosses the room and hugs me, just wraps her arms around me and holds on tight. I can feel her trembling slightly. You saved us. Do you understand that? Millions of dollars, thousands of clients, our entire reputation. You saved all of it. I was just doing my job. No, you did way more than your job. She pulls back to look at me. That matters, Marcus. You matter. We stand there for a long moment, both exhausted, both knowing something important just happened between us. Not just stopping the attack. Something deeper. Come home with me, she says quietly. Not for anything except sleep and maybe food. I just don't want to be alone tonight, and I don't think you should be either. I follow her to the parking garage. We take her car because I'm too tired to drive safely. Her penthouse is on the 20th floor of a building downtown, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. It's beautiful and modern and feels more like a hotel than a home. She orders food while I take a shower, and we eat on her couch in comfortable silence. I fall asleep there, too exhausted to even make it to the guest room. When I wake up 6 hours later, there's a blanket over me and Diana is asleep in the chair across from the couch, like she wanted to be nearby in case I needed something. 2 weeks pass. We see each other outside of work now, not just professionally. Dinner at quiet restaurants, walks along the waterfront. One afternoon at a bookstore where we argue about whether science fiction or mystery novels are better. Feels easy and natural, like we've known each other for years instead of weeks. At the office, we're careful. Professional in meetings, polite in hallways, never letting on that we text each other at night or have inside jokes or know how the other person takes their coffee. But people who pay attention probably notice anyway. The way our eyes meet across conference rooms. How we smile at each other's comments. The subtle shift in our dynamic. On a Thursday afternoon, Diana sends me an urgent email. My office, after everyone leaves. I arrive at 6 when the floor is mostly empty. She's pacing behind her desk, and I know immediately something's wrong. The board called another meeting, she says without preamble. They want me out, Marcus. My stomach drops. What? Why? They said I've lost my edge. That the company needs younger leadership to stay competitive. That our vision for the future doesn't align. She stops pacing to face me. My CFO got the same speech. They want to replace both of us with people in their 30s. That's insane. Every metric shows the company doing better than ever. They don't care about metrics right now. They care about image. about seeming innovative and fresh. She sits down heavily. Or maybe they're right. Maybe I am past my prime. Don't. I cross the room to her. Don't let them do to you what that guy at the cafe did. You're the best thing that's happened to this company. You built it from nothing. Then help me prove it. She looks up at me with fierce determination in her eyes. Help me build a case they can't ignore. The meeting is tomorrow at 9. We work through the night. I pull data on every major contract she's negotiated, every successful product launch, every quarter where profits exceeded projections. She organizes it into a story, a narrative that proves her value beyond any doubt. Around midnight, she orders food that we forget to eat. At 3 in the morning, when she falls asleep at her keyboard, I keep working. By dawn, we have a presentation that tells the truth. Diana Walsh built something extraordinary, and anyone who thinks age matters more than results is making a huge mistake. This is incredible, she says, reading through the slides. How did you pull all this together? I just organized what you accomplished. You did all the hard work. She stares at me for a long moment. Marcus, I need to tell you something. Ever since that night at the cafe, I've been thinking about you differently. Not as my employee or even as a friend. As someone who saw me when I felt invisible. My heart speeds up. Diana, let me finish. I know this is complicated. I know I'm your boss and this could be a disaster professionally. But I can't keep pretending I don't feel it. She takes a breath. Like maybe there's someone who sees me as exactly right instead of not enough. And maybe that person is you. I'm in love with you, I tell her. The words come out easier than I expected. I have been since that first coffee date. Maybe even before. I'm your boss, she whispers. You're not just my boss. You're the woman I can't stop thinking about. The one I want to choose every single day. This could ruin your career. I don't care about my career if it means pretending you don't matter to me. She kisses me then, and everything else disappears. We practice the presentation until the sun comes up. At 8:30, we drive to the office in separate cars like we've been doing for weeks, maintaining the illusion that nothing's different between us. At 9 o'clock, we walk into the boardroom together. The chairman, Robert Mitchell, looks surprised to see me. Marcus, this is a private board meeting. He's here because I asked him to be, Diana says firmly. He helped me prepare something you all need to see. For 40 minutes, she walks them through the data. I watch their faces shift as they see numbers they can't argue with. Revenue growth of 37% over 5 years. Client retention rate of 94%. 12 major innovations that changed how the entire industry handles cybersecurity. Under her leadership, Datacore went from a small startup to an industry leader, and the numbers prove it beyond any doubt. When she finishes, the room sits in silence. Ms. Walsh, the chairman finally says, we may have been hasty in our assessment. You were wrong, she corrects him. And you owe my CFO the same apology you're about to give me. They back down. All of them. When the room clears and we're alone, she starts laughing. Not polite laughter, but real, genuine relief. We did it, she says. We actually did it. You did it. I just made slides. She takes my hand. No, Marcus. We did this together. And I need you to know something. I'm in love with you too. I've been too scared to say it, but it's true. 3 days later, we go to HR together. Mrs. Patterson, the head of human resources, listens to our story with a neutral expression that gives nothing away. Romantic relationships between supervisors and direct reports aren't allowed, she says when we finish. That's company policy, and it exists for good reasons. What if Marcus reported to someone else? Diana asks. Our CTO, for example. Would that satisfy the policy? Mrs. Patterson considers this, flipping through the employee handbook. That could work, but you need to understand that people will talk. They'll make assumptions, spread rumors, question every professional decision either of you makes. Let them talk, Diana says firmly. We're handling this the right way. What we do outside of work is our business. The reporting structure changes that afternoon. I start working directly under Daniel Lee, our Chief Technology Officer. He's fair and professional and treats me exactly the same as before. But the gossip starts immediately anyway. By the end of the week, I find a note on my desk. Sleeping your way to the top? It says in printed letters. No signature. I crumple it up and throw it away without telling Diana. But she finds out anyway when someone sends her an anonymous email calling our relationship unprofessional and demanding she resign. Maybe this was a mistake, she says that night at her place. We're sitting on her couch, both of us exhausted from the constant whispers and stares. Maybe we're causing too many problems. We're not doing anything wrong, I tell her. We changed the reporting structure. We're careful at work. We followed every rule. If people want to gossip instead of looking at the facts, that's their problem, not ours. You don't understand what it's like, Marcus. Every decision I make gets examined under a microscope now. Every promotion, every project assignment, every email I send you gets questioned. Then we prove them wrong by being better than their doubts. It gets worse before it gets better. Someone starts a rumor that I only got my job because of Diana, completely ignoring that I was hired 3 years before we even met. Another rumor claims Diana is having a midlife crisis and using me to feel young again. The words hurt more than I expected them to. But then something shifts. A major security breach targets one of our biggest clients, and I catch it before any damage happens. I spend 36 hours straight building a new defense system that not only stops the attack but prevents future ones. The client writes a letter to the board praising my work specifically. Other clients start requesting me by name for their security audits. The gossip doesn't disappear, but it gets quieter. People start paying attention to my actual work instead of my personal life. Slowly, grudgingly, I earn respect based on what I can do rather than who I'm dating. 6 months after that night at Bridgewater Café, Diana asks me to move in with her. We're having dinner at her place, and she just says it casually, like it's the most natural thing in the world. Move in with you? I repeat, making sure I heard correctly. My penthouse has 3 bedrooms, and I'm the only one living here. You're here most nights anyway. Why pay rent on an apartment you barely use? I move in the following weekend. My books fill her empty shelves. My photography prints go on her bare walls. We establish routines together. Coffee in the morning, walks in the evening, comfortable silence while we both work on our laptops at night. Her house stops feeling like a showroom and starts feeling like a home. At work, I get promoted to Director of Cybersecurity. Daniel Lee tells me I earned it through hard work and results. And I believe him because the promotion comes with a detailed performance review showing exactly why I deserve it. Some people still whisper that Diana influenced the decision somehow, but most colleagues congratulate me genuinely. 1 year after that first conversation at the cafe, I buy a ring. I spend weeks planning this elaborate proposal, making reservations at a fancy restaurant, arranging for musicians, preparing a whole speech about love and second chances. But the night I'm supposed to do it, we're just sitting on our couch watching a documentary about cybersecurity threats. Nothing special about the evening at all. Diana turns to me during a commercial break and says, "I want to marry you." I start laughing so hard I almost fall off the couch. That's supposed to be my line. Why? Because you're the man. I pull the ring box from my pocket, where it's been living for the past 2 weeks. Because I've been carrying this around waiting for the perfect moment. Her hands fly to her mouth. You were going to propose? I am proposing. I slide off the couch onto one knee right there in our living room. Diana Walsh, you're the strongest, smartest, most amazing woman I've ever met. You saw me as someone worth knowing when I felt invisible. You taught me that being steady and reliable isn't boring. It's valuable. Will you marry me? She's crying and nodding and saying yes all at the same time. The ring fits perfectly. We get married 6 months later in the garden of a small venue outside the city. 50 people who actually matter to us. No huge ceremony with hundreds of strangers, just friends and family who supported us through everything. Diana's 3 siblings are there. My parents fly in from across the country. Daniel Lee officiates because he became a good friend through all of this. During the ceremony, Diana tells everyone about spending years believing she was too old for love, too damaged for a fresh start. Then someone she barely knew showed up at the right moment and reminded her she was exactly enough just as she was. I tell them about watching someone hurt and deciding I couldn't stay silent, even though every safe instinct told me to mind my own business. About how one choice to value human dignity over professional safety led us here. We dance as the sun sets behind the trees. Diana's head rests on my shoulder, and she whispers, "Thank you for not walking past my table that night. Thank you for letting me stay." I whisper back. People told us we were making a mistake. They said the age difference didn't matter much, but the professional complications would destroy us. They said office romances always end badly, that we were moving too fast, that we'd regret mixing our personal and professional lives. They were wrong about all of it. We weren't moving too fast. We were moving at exactly the right speed for us. The professional complications existed, but they were manageable when we faced them together. And the age difference that seemed so important to that cruel man at the cafe turned out not to matter at all. As we sway to the music, I think about how one decision to speak up instead of staying silent reshaped both our lives completely. How choosing compassion over comfort, hope over fear, connection over safety brought us to this moment. We proved everyone wrong simply by refusing to believe their limits applied to us.